This show is part of the RetroZap.com podcast network.
In honor of Easter week, we dedicate this to all the green bunnies out there. Happy Easter.
Classic Marvel Star Wars comics with Randy Martinez, with Fuji's Jaxxon, Crimson Jack and Serji-X, and Don Quixote. Classic Marvel Star Wars comics.
At last, beyond the movie, beyond the galaxy. This is the tagline on the cover of each issue of the Marvel Star Wars comics from 1977 and beyond. I am Richard, and I want to welcome you to our second episode of Classic Marvel Star Wars Comics. I am here to take you through the story, share memories of reading this series as a kid, and to see how well these plots and characters stand up over time.
And I am Sarah, and this is the show that just spun off from Skywalking Through Neverland, and we take you through each issue of the vintage comic series from the 70s and 80s. Now, I'm going to give you my fresh perspective since this is the first time I'm reading these comics ever.
Nice.
And I'm Randy Martinez, Star Wars artist, and I'm here to also share memories, childhood stories, and give my insight from the point of view of an artist.
Great roundtable we have here. We all have different aspects of how we're going to tackle these comics, and I couldn't think of a better way to ping pong off of each other.
I like it. I like making my notes and seeing what stories you guys bring to the table, because you have such depth to these comics.
Well, Richard's got more quote unquote depth than I do.
Well, I don't know, because Randy, you're
words,
the
age.
artist. Oh.
Hey.
Wait a minute. How much more? Not by much.
I'm only 7 years older than you. I was born in '69.
I've got 42 fathoms of depth. How many fathoms of depth do you have, Richard?
I get 47. So there you go. So different fathoms of depth, as Randy is calling it.
So your bongo goes a little deeper than mine.
Right into
The planet core.
Whereas Sarah, she's still skimming the surface.
Yes, because I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, when we're done with this, we're going to go watch The Phantom Menace again.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I know what a bongo is now.
We shall give you uno bongo.
Yes, I see.
We speak Spanish sometimes too.
You know what? When I'm watching those scenes, I'm always just amazed at how they engineered that city, and I can never concentrate on what they're saying.
Otogunga?
Yes.
Well, now next time you watch it, you'll say, okay, this is how far Rich goes down. That's how far Randy goes down, and you're still on the surface.
Yes.
That's because you're a youngin'.
That's right. I don't have to deal with those crazy monsters under the sea.
She's up on feed. She's the queen.
Okay.
Well, there you go.
That clears things
That
right
clears
up.
everything up.
So just to make it straight, Sarah is on feed. She's the queen. I'm in Otogunga, and Richard is down in the planet core.
That's right.
I can live with that.
All right. So let's all dive together into
Good segue.
issue number 8. Now, when we last left off, it was issue number 7, New Planets, New Perils. Now, Han and Chewie were just bidding farewell to Luke and Leia, and they were going back to Tatooine to pay off their debt to Jabba the Hutt, of course. Now, en route there, they were hijacked by space pirates, and my favorite space pirate of all, Crimson Jack and his gang of thugs. So, the pirates take that reward money that were given to Han and Chewbacca by the Rebel Alliance for rescuing Princess Leia, and now they are forced to lay low because they can't pay Jabba, and they seek refuge on the planet Aduba 3. Of course, they don't really lay that low.
Not at all, as we'll see in this issue. Now, in this episode, we're going to dive into issue number 8, titled 8 for Aduba, or as I call it, Magnificent 7 in Space. And this issue features some of Randy's favorite characters.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait to dive into that. Now, this issue was released November 8th, 1977, and it was written and edited by Roy Thomas and Howard Chaykin, and illustrated by Howard Chaykin. Now, Sarah, what is the storyline for this issue?
So Han Solo and Chewbacca are hired by a local moisture farmer on Aduba 3, and they are hired to protect his village from a band of local thugs known as Cloud Riders. And these Cloud Riders are part of Serji-X's gang. So Han and Chewie, they hire 6 misfit spacers to help them with the task, including a rogue Jedi, a bikini-clad gunslinger, and a green bunny with a mean disposition. Meanwhile, on Yavin 4, Luke, C-3PO, and R2 blast off to search for a location for the new Rebel Alliance base.
All right. Now, Randy, in your opinion, how well does this story fit into the Star Wars lore?
Well, I think the fact that, it is very Western, obviously. So I think in those terms, it actually kind of does fit in very well, I think, to Star Wars lore and what could have happened after episode 4, A New Hope. Yeah, I mean, everything in here is pretty credible. I know a lot of people think a lot of the characters are really goofy, which they are. But, having had, what is it now, 30 years now of this to look at these comics over and over again, they kind of do fit in.
Yeah, you're right. I like the fact that you spun it back to the Western themes of this issue. Now, the cover art was done once again by Gil Kane and Tony DeZanuga. And the title on it reads, Extra. In this issue, the deadly mission of Luke Skywalker, which begs the question, to roll it into something we've been saying about The Force Awakens, where's Luke?
Yeah.
How it all ties in. Now, why do you think the text reads, in this issue, the deadly mission of Luke Skywalker, when this issue has got so little to do with Luke and he's not even on the cover?
Oh, probably just to throw a little extra thing. It says right there, extra above it. So, meaning it's a little side story that happens in this comic. And so it's just, it's just selling comic books, see what's going on with Luke Skywalker at the same time.
Yeah, because, I mean, the main title, it can be argued, is 8 Against a World.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted your point of view, because you see this a lot in the Marvel comics when they'll make a big headline over something that happens on 2 or 3 pages.
Well, let me ask you this. Does yours say extra above the little?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if mine was a reprint.
No.
And,
Mine had that.
Okay.
Now, Randy, give us your description of this cover art as an artist.
It's pretty straightforward. You have a group shot looking dead into the camera, and of course you have the shadow of what is lurking on this side of the camera, which you could argue is you, the reader, in a way. But you have a lot of these. Most all of the goofy characters in the background behind Luke. Han and Chewbacca. But of course, the thing that probably stuck out to most readers was the green rabbit there, which of course we all know as Jaxxon, because I guess to this day, a lot of people would think, what the heck is a green rabbit doing in Star Wars? But let's not forget that before Star Wars came out, they're pitching a movie to people about this bunch of people flying around a spaceship with a big, like, half dog, half gorilla that talks to Han Solo. So, we got used to Chewbacca, and I'm just trying to make a case for Jaxxon here. Let it fly. Chewbacca himself was kind of weird, that whole idea. We accepted it. So why not a big, tall, green rabbit named Jaxxon? That's a carnivorous rabbit, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think, and it also goes right along with the spirit of the cantina, all those different characters. And, we have had all these years and lots of pictures to go through all the aliens in the cantina and know them well. But if you remember, first seeing it, like, there's no way you could see all those aliens back then. It's just a mishmash, basically creating an environment of anything that your mind could imagine being out there in the galaxy. And that's what this is on this cover. It's that spirit. And that's why I like it.
All right. So now, Sarah, what is your point of view of this cover?
All right. Well, the first thing my eye goes to is Han. And Han's been drinking the Crimson Jack juice because he's got quite some muscles on those legs right there.
Yes, he
So,
does.
yeah, that was kind of fun. Although he looks nothing like Han, and I do gotta say, like, this whole comic, Han just looks nothing like Han, and I think I'm kind of spoiled by reading, like, the Darth Vader comics now, because they have, like, a spot-on artist doing Han, and it's like seeing him in the movies, and I really like it. So seeing him in these comics is like, well, that's not Han, but that's okay. And then now I don't know if this was my idea when I saw the cover or it was influenced by our Facebook comments on the cover, but to me this kind of says Guardians of the Galaxy, because if you think about that, one of the final scene in Guardians of the Galaxy where they're all 5 holding hands together, kind of in that space cloud when they're fighting off the bad guy. Ronan, thank you. Ronan. This is kind of what that looks like to me only. And then, of course, capped off by that 8 Against a World title.
The title, right.
Right.
Now, for me, as a kid, I love this cover just because it looks like they're standing in outer space. And I love that background. And I love the fact that this cover really appealed to the toy-buying audience. And this cover really spoke to me. Because on the left, you have the Porcupine Man in the Doctor Strange green cape. And then next to him, you have, what would you call her? Pinky the Perilous? She's a woman who's very scantily clad. And then next to her, you got a droid who looks like he's part of the Ideal toy line. And I love that. And standing next to the droid is Professor Jedi, which we'll get to in a little bit, because I know, Andy, you've brought his name up quite a few times, so we'll get into that character in a little bit. And then standing next to him, finally, is Leftover Luke. And
What?
This character looks like Luke Skywalker.
Gotcha.
So I call him Leftover Luke. We'll learn a little bit that he's got an actual name.
Did you call him that as a kid?
No.
Okay.
Just looking at this cover now, these are the names that popped up into my head.
Okay.
So I love this cover. I love the fact that Chewie was this big, hulking, massive character. And I like it to be more realistic to the movies, but something about that pose just really struck to me. And Han with the 2 hands on his blaster ready to shoot at this creature that we only see his shadow. Now, we get a lot of Facebook comments
On this cover. Michael Knipp wrote, "This is more Guardians of the Galaxy than Star Wars." And I think that kind of influenced my first look at this cover. But yeah.
All right. Hector Rios Jr. writes, "This cover looks great. I just wish Chewbacca was on it."
That's
I think
funny.
he's referring to the fact that it's not really a true-to-screen Chewie on there.
No.
Now, there's an interesting comment by Georgia Peach, our good friend, and she writes, "Chewie is in a roid rage. And the bunny looks more like the Toxic Avenger. The artist is clearly very skilled, but this cover seems barely Star Wars themed and doesn't really entice me to pick up the whole story."
Well, I like Joey Pittman's reference to disco. The great cover looks like fight about to break out at the disco, which actually kind of is in the comic book. So it is kind of true to the story that's inside the comic. But, this is the 70s. This is the disco era. And, there was a lot of mind-altering things going on. And so a lot of people did see tall green bunnies and porcupine men and, leftover Lukes, as you say. So
And back then, you did see a lot of roller skating gals.
Yeah.
On the dance floor.
Yes,
right
you
here.
did. Yes, you did.
We have the Ideal toy man.
Yeah, so in a way,
Wow.
this is kind of a time capsule of the times.
Absolutely, yeah. Although it can be a time capsule of today, because Bryn McKinnon says Mr. Green Ears is clearly # Team Hoojib, which is, of course, from Skywalking Through Neverland and our Hoojibs.
Yeah, I do recall seeing Jaxxon when I was a kid and just loving that character.
Did that bring you in?
I'm sure it did. I don't
Okay.
remember. Star Wars brought me in.
Okay.
But to me, he looked like a bunny wearing Mork from Ork's red jumpsuit.
Nanu.
So I was sold right there.
Well, James Floyd echoes my thought, and he says Han is apparently auditioning for the role of He-Man here.
Come on, Battle Cat. An Eternian snail can move faster than this.
That's cute.
Definitely so. And okay, let's wrap this part up with Gabriel Kolba. Gabriel says, I'm going to have to say that Jaxxon is not the strangest thing on this cover. And I think, Gabriel, you are so right.
Yes. Kind of sums it up right there.
All right. So, Randy, any last... Oh, you know what? Let me ask you. Did this cover pay off in this issue? So did this cover match what your expectations were as you read this story?
Yeah, I think so. It's more or less a meet and greet kind of book. You're meeting and greeting all these new characters, and there's a little suspense with the shadow, and what is Han Solo aiming at? What are they ready to fight? So there's promise of a fight, which there is inside the comic, and it's kind of a good start. That first chapter when you meet these new characters, and I think it was really bold of Marvel to go with some of these directions, even if some of it seems maybe kind of like last minute ideas. But I think it's also worth noting that this was actually one of the first steps that got Lucasfilm to start doing a lot more continuity checking and quality control and things like that, because Lucas wasn't a big fan of Jaxxon and the Big Green Bunny, and this is back in the days when basically they weren't checking anything. They're like, whatever, you got a comic book, sell it, whatever. And
wow.
I don't think they realized what an impact that had and how much the fans were going to follow the comics. I don't know when it was that officially came out that Lucas said that these certain books were part of the canon until they got rid of the canon, or the EU. I'm sorry. So this was kind of the first straw on the camel's back, we'll say, that got them to start thinking, maybe we need to rethink this, not caring what people put under the name Star Wars.
Right.
I never knew that. That's interesting.
What about you, Richard? Did you think this cover paid off?
Oh, big time. Because you had all those toys on the front cover. And each page, you were introduced to more and more characters. So I just loved it.
Now, were these toys available?
Oh, no.
No, unfortunately. And the every year when Hasbro has their poll to create their fan favorite of the year, their fan favorite action figure, Jaxxon is always up there. It's always a runner-up, but gets wedged out by Jocasta Nu.
Oh.
I know, it's so close, so close.
Which is to say, mean that he really did win the voting, and they're just never going to make it. So we'll throw Kitster in there instead. Everybody wants Kitster more.
Now, Sarah, when you saw that cover, did the story pay off to what your expectations were coming in as a new reader?
For me, because this is within an omnibus, I only really look at the cover once and then keep going. So I don't really think back to the cover after reading the episode, unlike you, who probably had that comic in your hot little hands as a kid and kept on looking at the cover.
Oh, for 30 days, that's all you had until the next issue came out.
Yeah. So I kind of have a different... I can't really answer that question because I didn't really
Your experience
do that.
is different.
Yes.
Okay,
Which,
that's why you're here.
That's very interesting to think about. That we had the movies. We had 3 years in between, but in the comics, you had 30 days. So there's a lot, like we discussed with the original New Hope comics, that there were scenes that we could have sworn that we saw in the movies.
Yep.
So and a lot of that is just our own minds and anticipation, just piecing the things together and almost creating our own stories. So when you have this comic sitting there, on your drawer, or your table or whatever, your desk, and it's sitting there for 30 days, you're looking at that cover. You see that cover more than you see the inside of it. You read the inside, but you're going to always see that cover. So these stories start playing out in your mind, I think.
Yeah. See, now I have that experience with reading books growing up. You'd have that cover of the book. In fact, some of my Star Wars books, I'd bring them around through high school. I was bored in a class. I'd peek into my Star Wars book. And then sometimes, I remember the cover of one of them, I'd start trying to draw Leia, from the cover of the book. So those covers were very important.
Oh, see, there you go.
Yeah. So I understand your experience, but I just didn't have that experience with these comics.
And I do recall setting up my action figures. I used to go get the Topps cards and try to recreate those scenes on the Topps cards with my action figures. And I do recall setting up my action figures to replicate this cover.
Wow.
Because once again, those
liked it a lot.
background characters looked like the toys I used to have.
Okay.
I think I got as far as Pinky the Perilous there.
Who did you use as Jaxxon?
That's a good. I may have had a Mork from Ork doll, and I'm pretty sure I just used him.
Wow.
Yeah, and for the Professor Jedi next to him, I just used my Obi-Wan.
Okay.
All right. Now, with all that said, let's get into the story. 8 For Aduba 3. Now, Randy, tell us what's going on this splash page.
Well, it's, of course, a follow-up to where we left off in issue number 7, with a fight starting to break out in the bar that they're in, the cantina. And this green guy here is not too happy with Han Solo here. And this little thing's going to happen. And I was actually confused because that did look like Luke Skywalker back there. A lot.
The guy all the way to the right,
In the background. I was like, where'd he come from? Look at him. He's like pretty much, it's just Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, he's got the shorty robe.
Yeah, and he's wearing the Gilligan hat.
Yeah, and he's got the wraps on the feet and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, it's a nice splash page because even the angle that Han is being pulled back, it's pulling you back as a reader to remind you of where you left off in issue 7. And moving you forward, it's just some exciting things.
Yeah, story-wise, what's happening is this big green ogre alien, he's interrupting Han Solo during a deal that Han is setting up with this other leftover Luke. And also there's another character that looks like Word, the bartender from Star Wars, and next to him is Harry Potter at age 43. So yeah, it's very. And these guys are peasant farmers, and what's going on is that these peasants want Han and Chewie to protect them against Serji-X. So Han's right in the middle of setting up this deal when the green ogre, whose name is never given, he pulls Han back because Han was, I guess, he walked off with his girlfriend, who we saw in issue number 7.
Right.
And at the very end, Han goes walking off as Chewie is making time with those clown girls.
Now, can we just say what Han says here to the big green ogre?
Okay.
He says, "Was your beef tall, dark, and ugly as sin?" Now, does that sound like Han?
Yeah, I give a lot of issues as to what Han is saying in this issue because it just doesn't ring true as Han Solo.
No.
Even this line by the farmers who is telling Han, hey, this deal that we're trying to set up comes with an addendum. You cannot be adverse to dying.
Wow.
Why bring that up?
Yeah.
So who wouldn't go, you know what, I'm going to rethink this and I'll get back to you. I'll text you later on.
Yeah.
But I can see it's a fun line to put in there just to make this, just to heighten the drama as to what's going on there. And then Han is telling the green ogre that, hey, you know what, I got a Wookiee friend and you better watch your back. And to which the green ogre says, bah, I'm not afraid of any skinny fur bag. Did you not see the cover art, Mr. Green Ogre? Who is he calling skinny? And then when Han realizes that Chewie is nowhere around, he says, "Where in the blazes?" Which is something you see coming up in, even to this day, you hear that by different characters like Obi-Wan in Attack of the Clones.
Oh, okay.
And you hear that on Star Tours. You hear that a lot. I thought that was a fun call forward, I guess you want to call it.
Okay.
Now, at this point, Han is thrown by the big green ogre alien before he can finish a sentence, and he crashes into the table behind him, where he begins another bar fight by calling that ape alien Pigface. Now, Randy, what's your take on these aliens right over here?
Well, I think they're pretty cool. They're, again, back to the spirit of the original cantina on Tatooine. The artist is just having fun here, you know. He's just creating some oddball-looking things and using the kind of gorilla-looking guy at the same time of being, over, just out of this world. Also keeping some relative imagery to our minds to keep us grounded to where this is a world that we could actually visit, possibly. So I like these guys. I like the this robot with a brain. I can't tell if his arms like reach out long, like if that's a power, like he's Machine Man or something in the comics. But
It's got like slinky arms.
yeah. But I think it's neat because I think it makes us feel like the galaxy is bigger because we haven't seen everything yet.
I know as a kid, that alien really drew me in because it's an ape, so I tied it into Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that was a Star Wars Planet of the Apes crossover. And I do love the alien with the exposed brain. And that alien says, "Hey, you're trying to get smart with my girlfriend?" Referring to the ape. So I guess the ape is the robot's girlfriend.
Yeah, that was funny.
And so the robot then takes a swing at Han, and Han says, "Uh-oh, ducking time again."
Like he'd have time to say that.
Yeah, there's a lot of dialogue Han says in the middle of a fight. Not that I've gotten in that many fights, but I know I wouldn't be just talking like this.
Yes. It kind of bugged me that Han was being thrown around like a rag doll. I didn't like it.
Yeah, but look at all I know. But look at all these big giant aliens.
I know, I didn't like it. I'm a girl.
But look, I know. But you know what? Check out what happens next. Han keeps getting knocked around until he lands in the arms of what I would say is the best Chewbacca representation we have gotten in the series thus far.
This is page 138 of the omnibus.
Yeah, these next two pages are definitely the best of Chewbacca.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love this. This rings so true as Chewbacca, and I'm trying to figure out where they got this reference photo from.
Han, however, in this photo that you're talking about, Han looks like Ray Romano.
He does.
All of a sudden, Han or Chewie is embracing Ray Romano right there.
You know what? He looks like Ray Romano from Everybody Loves Raymond season 4.
Yes.
That's where I would peg that.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ray Romano was probably 15 or something at the time.
Yeah.
Now, Chewie, having a life debt to Han Solo, he's not going to stand still for this. And, well, now it's clobbering time. And I love this part as a kid because Chewie goes toe-to-toe with the green alien, who calls him an overgrown hair shirt. Chewie just can't catch a break in this issue. Now, I loved it because this guy is trying to knock Chewie pound after pound after pound, and Chewie's just not having it. And this next panel, we cut to the outside of the cantina, and the alien just goes shaboom as he's thrown out the window. Very, very Western feel to that.
Yeah, it's
a
very good camera work, to cinematically capture what's happening here. It's very classic, like you said, Western. But what I thought was funny in these panels, though, is that that dude's pretty big. And the way Chewbacca's coming off is that like he's like Superman, and like he's like can't be even budged by, you know what I mean? It's like he would move a little bit. He could. I'm not saying he couldn't take a punch, but I mean, look at him. He's just like a wall. He's just like he's not moving.
I think that's Chewie though.
No,
he's strong.
And now my question is, what was the point of this fight? Because after
that was my question.
After this fight, Han goes back to Leftover Luke, Harry Potter at 43, and Where the Bartender.
Yeah, and picks up right where he left off.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you cut this fight out,
that was my question. We are on the same page. Except you kind of find out later, because towards the end there is a callback to the green alien.
Right, he does reappear again.
Yeah. But yes, I agree with you. Like, that is kind of a tangent, and then all of a sudden we're back with these three guys who are...
Well, I think it establishes the green guy's character.
Right.
And that was important, and they're fighting because of the girl, that his girlfriend Han went off with. And but I think it establishes the green guy as just kind of like the jerk in the bar. There's always that guy who's the bully,
Yeah.
The Walrus Man.
Yeah, or like Seabass in Dumb and Dumber,
All right, who's the dead man that hit me with the salt shaker?
Yeah, okay, so we'll call this guy Seabass.
Yeah.
That's his name. And I think an easier answer is because they wanted to open up this issue with a fun fight.
Well, yeah.
And
Okay.
that's what it was.
For boys.
For
Because girls
boys.
don't like seeing Han knocked around.
No, not at all.
No,
But-
girls want a romantic scene between Han and Leia.
And you're not going to get that in this issue either.
Damn it.
All right, now going back to this issue. So, like we were saying earlier, Han goes back to setting up this deal with the lowly farmer named Ramiz, who was selected to find protection from, as he says, the devil and his men. So he goes to the cantina to find protection. And Randy, who is it that he needs protecting from?
From Serji-X.
Serji-X. Now,
Dun,
you
dun.
brought his name up a while ago when I asked you what were some of the characters that really appealed to you from this whole series. And he's one of the characters. And to be honest, I didn't remember this character. What about him really stood out for you?
Well, Serji-X, what stood out to me for personal reasons because he is based after and looks like my good friend and very famous artist Sergio Aragonés, who is, of course, everybody knows him from Mad Magazine, the Mad Look At, and in the margins, he draws those little cartoons. He, of course, does Gru the Wanderer and all kinds of things like that. Do you remember bloopers and practical jokes on TV?
Yeah, Dick Clark?
Yeah, he did all the little funny animations of the guy sweeping up and stuff. That's all his artwork.
Okay.
So Sergio Aragonés, if for some reason you've never heard that name, definitely look it up. He's one of the funniest cartoonists, illustrators, and one of the funniest people I've ever met. But he's a good friend of mine, and so this was really cool seeing him in here.
Okay.
Wow.
Now, for those listeners who had not ever seen Serji-X, describe what he looks like.
Well, he looks like Sergio Aragonés. By the way, Serji-X instead of Sergi-O, and his last name is Aragontes.
Wow.
Instead of Sergio Aragonés. Now, the backstory on this is that, Sergio did a lot of work in New York with Mad, and a lot of the artists knew each other from all the Comic Cons. And the thing about Sergio is everybody loves Sergio. He's such a nice guy, and all of the artists love him. So this, Howard Chaykin obviously was friends with Sergio and wanted to put him in the comic. And so he looks like Sergio Aragonés. He's a very Spanish-looking fellow with a big handlebar mustache. Sergio does not have that scar across his head, but he has the leather outfit. He looks like a gunslinger. He's got spurs. He's got 2 guns ready to go, and just looks like a bad hombre, which, Sergio can play that part, which he actually has in a movie.
Oh, wow.
Well, so this is personal for you.
Yeah. So that's to everybody else at Serji-X. To me, that's my friend Sergio Aragonés.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. And I love the fact that he's wearing green pants and a maroon, very Western top.
Yeah.
Now, I would never imagine these two colors going well together.
Well, Christmas.
Yeah, but that's not a true Christmas red.
No,
That's
it's
more of
not.
a, what do you call that? Almost like a hot pink.
It's like a maroon. Well,
Yeah, maroon.
yeah. So, and but also in my comic, it looks a little more brown than it
Oh,
does.
really?
Yeah. Because you guys have the omnibus. I have the original comic, and it's more brown.
Okay.
So, but still not your typical Western outfit colors. Unless you're Michael J. Fox, in Back to the Future 3.
That's a good parallel.
What did he call himself? Clint Eastwood?
Yeah, Clint Eastwood.
Now, does your friend Sergi have a band of
Sergio.
marauders? Like this guy's got the Cloud Riders?
Oh, yeah, all the artists and writers at Mad Magazine.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Love the fact that Serji-X here, his gang is called the Cloud Riders. It was very Skywalker-ish.
Mm-hmm.
All right, now
I like that too.
going back to the story here, Ramirez tells Han that the Cloud Riders come forth each year at this time to exact tributes from us. Exact tributes. That's a very odd way of saying they come in and carry off their women.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they say they plunder, they pillage, and they they do bad things to women.
Yeah.
Well, they never say that.
They imply it.
I do. Now,
And with a picture as well.
My question is, it sounds like this is a yearly thing that they come at this time of year and carry off the women. So if you were a woman, would you be wearing that little slinky outfit that this woman is wearing?
No, I wouldn't, but maybe they ripped off her dress before they took her.
Yeah, see, it says right there, and they carry off our wives and daughters merely to amuse themselves. Now,
Yes.
what if a Viking, a pirate, or even a biker, is carrying off your wife or daughter just to amuse himself? How do you think he's amusing himself? So, yeah, it's definitely implied, like Sarah's saying, and
maybe he needs someone to fold their laundry.
yeah.
No, that's not amusing.
Yeah, that's not amusing.
I'm just trying to keep things clean here.
I know.
All right, let's move on from that. Now, Ramirez tells Han, "You must help us, masters, or our village will soon cease to be." And Han says, "Yeah, that'd be a real loss to the galaxy, all right."
I know.
Once again, Han, come on.
That's like terrible.
Yeah, people always write Han as a wiseacre. Han's not a wiseacre.
No.
These aren't the kind
I
of things
agree.
Han says.
And there even is a line here that Han says on page 139 mid-panel. Han says, "Sorry, guess I'll have to shelve my sense of humor for a while." It's like it's kind of referencing the fact that he has this sense of humor, which he really doesn't have.
No, not at all.
He's not a wise.
I'm racking my brain here to think of a scene in Star Wars where,
I think just sometimes his banter with Leia, people like take that
right,
and
calling her princess
and run with it.
Sister, and
Yeah. But he's
Highness.
just. I think that's just reserved for Leia.
yeah.
It's getting under her grill.
Now, this is one of my favorite parts of this whole series. Now, Han takes the job from Ramirez and begins interviewing the local thugs from the cantina.
Now, okay, so he interviews them, but he interviews them shirtless. Like Han is shirtless.
That's not why this is my favorite part of the series, but
It's why it's mine.
Yeah, I was gonna say a little something for the ladies.
I was so amused by that. Like, why would you? I guess he's in the room, right? He's in his own room.
but he's got company coming in.
Yeah, like why would he be shirtless? But he's like shirtless for the remainder of this comic,
Yeah.
almost.
So, was that an artistic choice, or
This-
what? Randy, what's your take on this?
I don't know, man. That whole thing. That was the first thing I noticed. Is like, why is he doing interviews with his shirt off?
And
Is it like he feels like he's got one up on everybody? Like you come in, it shows he's the boss because he's got a better chest than
physique?
everybody else.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very
I don't
amusing.
know. But Randy, let's go through all the cast of characters that Han is interviewing. Who's first up?
Oh, this is the porcupine guy.
Wait, before we get into this, okay, didn't these guys who hired Han say that they didn't have a lot of money?
Yes.
So what is Han hiring these people with?
Oh, maybe it's an internship.
That's what it, like, I don't understand why he takes the job with no money and it could kill you. And then he's inviting all these extra people to come and paying them out of his own pocket. This is what I'm getting from this.
Well, it reminds me of the audition signups in the Pirates of the Caribbean when they go to Tortuga in
Yes.
Pirates of the Caribbean 2. Sorry, when Norrington.
well, the first
signs
one
up.
they have that.
That's right. Well, they do, but in the second one, when they go in the bar and then Norrington comes and signs up to be part of the crew, it's like basically all the people that are coming in there, they have no good reason to join except for, I've always wanted to be a seaman or something like that, And
They just want to get out of where they are.
yeah, just looking for some excitement.
And the guy Ramirez does say, you must not have an issue about dying.
Yeah.
So maybe Han's thinking, okay, I'm going to promise everyone the world, knowing that they won't survive this mission.
Oh.
So that's not really in Han's character.
No, it's not.
No.
Okay. Well,
right, well.
I just see that big plot hole right there staring me in the face, so I had to point it out.
All right, Porcupine Man.
All right.
His name is Hedgie. And he comes in wearing a green cape and green underwear.
Wow.
What is he covering there?
Wait, now is his body? He's just dark. Is that
He's a porcupine
fur?
man. Yeah,
Oh,
he's the one
right.
wearing the green Doctor Strange
That's
cape.
right. And they ask him if he has a blaster. He's like, no.
Oh, I don't have a blaster.
They're like, oh well.
Yeah, he shoots his deadly quills.
Yeah.
So Hedgie, you're in.
Yep.
And next up, we have a Mesa, who looks amazing in her red bikini with puffy shoulders.
I don't know about her. Her makeup's a little much.
Yeah, we're not looking at her makeup.
Okay. Fine.
But she's gonna fight marauders in this very, very skimpy red bikini.
Yes.
Now,
with puffy sleeves that seem to kind of take away her line of vision.
yeah. Now she is the den mother of the Black Hole Gang, which Han thought were all gunned down by the Empire. So he's got a little bit of a history with the Mesa. So naturally, she's in. That's why she wore the red bikini.
Yep.
Well, you know what, Randy? Tell us who's next, because I know you like this character.
Okay, now this is even more goofier to me than Jaxxon. The next person to come in and apply for the job is Don Juan Quixote.
Oh, that's good stuff. That is good
What
stuff.
an awesome
Which,
name.
for those who don't know, there is a very classic story of Don Quixote, which, of course, is the Spaniard who goes crazy and he attacks a windmill because he thinks it's a giant. That's the short version of the story. So this is Don Juan, like Obi-Wan
right.
Quixote. So the name is ridiculous to begin with. Not only that, he looks like Don Quixote.
Oh.
He has the bald head with the hair, the wispy hair on the side, and the big handlebar Spanish looking mustache and the pointy beard, which I've had that myself before for a while. And he just looks like a Spaniard and almost like a Spanish monk kind of. And so or Dali, Dali. Actually, the picture, we meet him the first frame where he says his name, and the next frame where it looks. This is very poor planning as far as designing the next frame down. He's holding up his lightsaber. It's hard to see it, but he's holding up a lightsaber.
Ah, yes.
That picture, he looks like Salvador Dali, who, of course, is a very famous Spanish painter, surrealist. And so I think there's there's a three-way mix-up of Don Quixote, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Salvador Dali.
Interesting.
Yeah, very much so. And he was the one on the cover that I was calling Professor Jedi. And he's got a red lightsaber.
Yeah, and there's some very interesting dialogue concerning the Jedi.
Yeah, you're right, because Han doesn't believe him when he says he's a Jedi, because Han says, haven't the Jedi been outlawed since the rise of the Empire? Didn't he just meet Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah.
So I'm not understanding what's going on there. But I love the way he speaks. And this one panel here, he says to Han, "It is my sacred duty to travel the galaxy, championing the causes of peace and justice. I pray you let me join you, young sir, in whatever holy mission you undertake." So he must be trying to appeal to Han's Sunday school side. So Don Juan Quixote, he did some research.
Yes.
Yeah.
And now, my other question is, how do you think he escaped Order 66?
Acting crazy, probably. They're like, what? You don't think we need to kill him?
Hacking up windmills.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way you get out of jury duty, too. So now, for whatever reason, he's in.
Yes.
Not clear why, but he's in. Now, next we meet... Oh, wait for it. We meet Jaxxon.
Yay!
Everyone's favorite... There you go. That's what it sounds like. Everyone's favorite green bunny mercenary.
Yeah, I love his introduction here. Like, you see his cute little bunny face, and in the next panel, which is on the next page, he's kicking some butt.
Whose butt is he kicking?
Oh, he's kicking the green guy, Ogre, from the beginning. He's
Yes.
kicking his butt. So it kind of shows how powerful Jaxxon is.
So, what are we calling him, Randy? Seabass?
Seabass. It's Seabass. Yeah, he's like the bully, the jerk,
Okay, gotcha.
So he reappears, but, Jaxxon, he saves the day because the Green Ogre, he still wants to exact revenge on Han. And I do love this panel where we see the cute green bunny looking up with his long eyelashes and looking all so cute. But in the next panel, ka-chop!
Ka-chop! Yeah!
All right, Jaxxon, you're in.
Yep.
All right, Sarah, who do we meet next?
Okay, next, finally, we meet Jim, or he calls himself the Star Killer Kid. So, now this begs the question, is this Snoke as a boy?
Oh.
Oh. Now, this is the character that was on the cover that was calling Leftover Luke.
Yes.
Because he looks like Leftover Luke, but maybe now his name is Snoke.
Well, is that just because Snoke... Well, actually, Snoke is never on Starkiller Base.
I'm just trying to tie things together.
Okay. Well, so Starkiller, wasn't that another name for
Luke.
Luke
Yeah,
Skywalker
Luke
at the very
Starkiller.
beginning?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why they keep using the name Starkiller over and over again.
Right. So that's kind of cute.
But his name is Jim with 2 M's, and he comes with a tractor robot named FE9Q, or FE for short.
Now, Effie kind of has an attitude like Chopper does in Rebels.
He so does. He plays by his own rules and doesn't really think of anyone else, or doesn't think of himself as a droid.
Yeah.
Now, Han thinks the Star Killer Kid looks like Luke, which he does.
Yeah.
And this segues the story down onto Yavin 4, where finally we get the extra part, and Luke is being sent off on a mission to find a new base with R2 and 3PO. And as he leaves, he says to Leia, "I'm no hero, princess." Now, Luke, didn't you just destroy the planet-destroying Death Star?
I think so.
That, in my book, you're a hero.
Yeah.
In my book, you're a hero.
So you feel he's being overly modest.
Very, very overly modest. That's kind of Luke's character.
Yeah,
I can
he's
see that.
upholding his character there.
Yeah, okay. But then he continues by saying, it doesn't take a hero to figure out that the Galactic Empire's got to be stopped. That comes out of nowhere. Like, Luke, we knew that.
Thanks, Captain Obvious.
We're just reiterating for the fans. who
Oh,
maybe
okay.
just
So the younger fans.
getting into Star Wars through this comic.
Okay,
Who
okay.
knows?
I just love that the dialogue where it almost looks like he should be looking over at the camera and saying this. Now, for those of you keeping score, now, as his blockade runner blasts into space, Leia says that she wishes she could go up with him, but Donna says, now that your father is dead, you are needed both as a leader and a symbol. Way to ease the pain about her dad.
Oh.
You don't need to be so blunt about it.
Yeah. Which is interesting because this is the exact opposite of what happens in the new Princess Leia comic from the new canon.
Yeah, where Donna's like, go, get out.
Yeah, Leia like literally puts the medal not on Chewie and then runs to her to gather like Alderaanians from around the world. Or around the galaxy. Excuse me.
Now that we're cutting to Luke's story, we're seeing more of Luke, and he's now looking like Mark Hamill.
Yes, I love this panel of Luke's face. It's like, holy buckets, someone actually took the time to make it look like Luke.
Now, Randy, what about that really says that the artist had a good reference painting or picture of Luke?
Probably most likely he did. I mean, it does look a little bit better. You can even see in a couple of pages later, the likeness of Han Solo is a little bit better on the montage there. And, of course, Chewbacca looks better. So they're getting some references. By this time, there's probably a lot of pictures out in magazines and things like that people can reference.
The film's been out for 6 months, so they should be looking more like their actors. Okay, now at this point, we cut inside the blockade runner, and Luke is thinking about how he ended up in the middle of all this war stuff. And we have this great movie flashback collage.
Yeah.
So, Randy, tell us artistically what is going on in this collage.
Well, it's more called like a montage where you have bits and pieces of a story kind of stitched together in different ways. And it's done for the purposes of quick storytelling and just some style, some things to get some images in there without getting too deep into anything. And it kind of also tells it's like a vehicle to show thoughts. Like you have thoughts in your mind that kind of wander around. They don't really, at least for most people, not for me, they don't play out like a comic book. Your thoughts kind of just melt into one another. So that's kind of like what the montage is kind of used for, is this is what's going on in Luke's head.
So this is a good example of show it, don't say it.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's partly Luke's head, but then at the end, doesn't it go to Han's head? I got a little confused with this.
Well, it is, but I think they're just trying to do something a little bit different, that they're thinking at the same time about the same type of things, and then the camera would wipe over into.
Okay, so it's like a somewhere out there moment.
Sort of, yeah.
Somewhere out.
Yeah, when you think one is speaking, the other is speaking.
Right.
Now, in the montage, we have this great assemblage of Ben Kenobi, Darth Vader with a yellow lightsaber, and the Death Star. And I loved that as a kid because I knew where they got that Darth Vader reference photo from. And I love the color scheme, even though he's a dark blue and a lavender, and you get the red buttons. Something about that I just really, really loved. I always loved when they painted Darth Vader in those dark blues. Because they used to paint Batman in those same blues. So I had an affinity for that shade of blue.
Okay.
Bat Darth.
Yeah. There you go.
The only thing, Obi-Wan's a little effeminate looking. He doesn't look much like
Really?
Obi-Wan to me. He's got some pretty thick eyelashes there. He's got the pouty lips. He's, maybe he's doing a selfie.
Wow.
Yeah, there is a thought bubble that says, "Eat your heart out, Kim Kardashian." I don't know why they would put that. This is the 1990s, 1977.
He needs a lower décolletage to compete with her.
There you go. All right, now, back to the story.
Yes.
Luke tells 3PO that Ben was the greatest man he ever knew since he sacrificed himself so they could escape from the Death Star. Now, as a kid, I never really knew why Ben let himself be struck down. It wasn't until I read that I understood why Ben sacrificed himself. I've always loved that moment. Now, Randy, as a kid, did that even make an impact on you? Did you really understand what Ben was doing?
No, probably. I don't think so. I mean, I think I was too young to really get that. Maybe a few years later, when I watched it on tape, and before we saw Empire Strikes Back, I think it was on tape. I saw it at some point. I got it at some point, but not when it first came out. But of course, that's kind of a more mature idea, sacrifice and what happens there. Luke obviously would have ran back to try to help him, and it would have been for nothing, and everything would have been done.
I recall before reading this, friends asking me, why did Ben do that? And I got so flustered because I didn't have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Sarah, you were older when you saw Star Wars. Did that make an impact on you as to why Ben let himself be struck down by Vader?
For me, I believed it was the right moment, the right time, and as Obi-Wan, his spirit could follow Luke at that moment because Luke was in the room. So it was like he was waiting for Luke to come in the room so that when Vader struck him down, he could kind of attach to Luke. That's what I got from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he kind of did.
Yeah, so I didn't see it as Obi-Wan doing that so that they could escape. I saw the bigger picture.
Okay. You were just smarter than us. Smarter than me.
Well, I saw it when I was a little older too.
Well, I think that's true too as well. That he sees his advantage of being able to be there with Luke in spirit. But I think what it does for his character is it just makes him a little more. He has a deeper knowledge and bigger wisdom than everybody, including the audience, really understands.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it says there's a lot more to Obi-Wan Kenobi, and there's a lot of stories, and hopefully some of those movies they keep talking about with Ewan McGregor, possibly they'll get those made, because I think there are a lot of stories about Obi-Wan, and to not just to explain who he is, but to just show how powerful he was, and what he meant. I think he means a lot to the universe, and also maybe they explain how he gets amnesia on certain things.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
That's a whole other can of worms.
Well, I love the prequels, how he was willing to throw away or be destroyed just to save the mission. And I thought they really did a great job with his character in the prequels. When the going got tough, Anakin, you move on. I'm just going to let myself be destroyed because the mission is more important. All right, now, so the thoughts go from Luke into Han, and Han is daydreaming about the same thing Luke is daydreaming about. He snaps back to reality, and he says to Jim and the robot, "All right, you guys are in too." Which I always thought Han wasn't favorable to droids, but he lets Effie into the bunch. Probably thought he could use his parts.
He tolerates 3PO.
Well, because he has to.
Yeah,
All
not
right.
his.
Hey, I was just thinking, do you think the okay, look, we already have a Sergio reference, Sergio Aragonés. You have Don Juan Quixote. You have a rabbit. You have a lot of references. Do you think Jim, which is hilarious to me, he's just called Jim.
With 2 M's.
Everybody's got this fantastic name, and I'm Jim. Reminds me of Monty Python with the wizard. It's like, there are those who call me Tim. So it's kind of like that. But I'm wondering, do you think Jim is a call out to Star Trek? James Kirk.
Jim Tiberius
James
Kurt.
T. Kirk.
Because, McCoy always calls him Jim.
I don't know. It could be on the part of the artist. Maybe that was a fun little reference.
We'll just put that out there for people to think about.
Okay, for people to take if they want it.
Tweet at us at SkywalkingPod.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, now, the next morning, Han and Chewie are greeting their new posse when he sees sky speeders coming up. It's Serji-X and the Cloud Riders. And Sergi says, "Forget those villagers. I'm prepared to offer you a minimal sum." Wait a minute. What is he talking about?
Yeah.
So I guess he knows that Han was hired to protect the village, but why would he just throw that in his face? I'm gonna pay you a minimal sum, as opposed to saying, you know what, I'll double what the peasants offered you, when he doesn't even know what that is.
But again, who's paying these guys, and what are they paying them? I'm so confused by this.
Yeah, the whole money issue just throws everything off. Well, Han refuses, and the Cloud Riders take off while yelling back threats to Han and company. Han tells everyone, "Let's get moving, Starhoppers. We've got some banter riding to do." The end. So that was a great way to end this issue, because it really is a cliffhanger.
Yeah,
now,
definitely.
Randy, what are your overall thoughts on issue 8 here?
I think it's fun. I think you have a bunch of new characters, which I think they obviously needed, because they're only loosely covering Luke Skywalker and Princess Leia. And I think that they kind of needed a diversion to get people thinking about things other than where the story is going next. So things would be a big, huge surprise when Empire Strikes Back came out. Even though I guess at this point they weren't quite sure if they were going to have a sequel. So there was no real danger of creating all these new characters. But I love it. I think they're goofy. It's just because I say they're goofy doesn't mean that I don't like them. I like them a lot. And I think it's cool. I hope that when they make the Han Solo movie, that they have characters like this that we haven't met. I of course I'd love to see Lando and all that, but I hope we see some other cool characters that we don't know anything about, and they're just fun. Maybe they're just going to remake this comic right here.
There you go.
Now, for me, looking at this as a kid, it was like looking at the Sears Christmas catalog.
Really?
Just because everyone looked like a toy.
Yeah.
So I really loved this issue.
Aww.
It had everything. It had that Western aspect. Had a lot of great panels. The characters were now starting to look like their selves on the screen. And we had Jaxxon. Need I say more?
Yeah.
Was he your favorite back then?
He was.
Okay.
He was. I loved bunnies, and he just could kick some derriere.
Right.
Yeah,
Sarah.
his character is really cool too. He's not in it a whole lot in this, but I just love his character.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love the fact that he's looking so cute in one panel. The next panel, ka-chop.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, don't cross this one.
No.
So,
Yeah.
Sarah, what is your overall reaction to this issue?
I think for me, it's very interesting that Jaxxon definitely stands out for me as probably my favorite of the 8, the roundup of 8, I guess, or
6,
7,
including
6?
Han and
Okay,
Chewie.
gotcha. So the roundup of the 6 new characters, and overall it was action packed. I appreciated that. It was kind of hard for me to keep track of all these characters. So I'm sure in the future episodes it'll be interesting to see. I'm assuming these characters will stick around for a little bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be good.
There's an arc that's just starting here.
Oh, good. Okay. So, yeah, it definitely seemed like kind of an expositional episode, and I am interested to see more. And I just wish that Han was drawn a little more like Han.
And with less clothing?
Well, I think they got the less clothing on the mark right here.
Yeah, but he's saying you maybe you want just leave the shirt off. That's just his new look.
I don't know. It's good to imagine things, so we don't need a shirt off the whole time.
Maybe just add a bow tie.
Oh God, suspenders. Anyway,
That's just weird.
I know. I'm sorry.
All right. Now, looking back, who do you think is standing on the cover that we see the shadow? They're all looking at someone. Who do you think that character is?
Seabass.
Well, isn't it supposed to be Serji-X? But it doesn't look like him. It looks like some big Seabass thing, ogre.
Yeah, I think, Randy, you're the closest one with Seabass because I don't think it's supposed to look like anyone. It just makes for a nice cover.
Yeah.
You see that, and it's like, oh, look at this big lumbering creature, and you only see the shadow, and that can't be good. All right, now, let's get into our favorites.
Woohoo!
Randy, what is your favorite panel in this issue?
My favorite panel, actually, I think I'm going to steal it from you, Richard. I just have a feeling, is where Jaxxon is just laying a smackdown on Seabass.
All right, who's the dead man that hit me with the salt shaker?
Woohoo!
That big kick with that big foot. It's just a lot of action Jaxxon. And
good colors there. It pops.
Great colors. It's just cool. Look at the determination on his face for a rabbit, and that and his fist is I love his fist. It's just really just ready to go, and it's like, yeah, I love that one. And I ain't no rodent.
Yep.
Nice line. I knew I shouldn't have made such a big deal about that panel.
Uh-oh. So is that your favorite?
Well, not anymore. I got to find a new one.
Okay.
So you pick yours.
I pick mine. Okay, I'm going to cheat a little bit because my favorite panel is page 140. Because I'm saying that it's all one panel because Serji-X kind of unifies those 4 panels on that page.
Okay.
And I like that. I like the introduction of this new baddie, that it's so bombastic and loud, and like that, he's right there. This is the guy you're against, and there's no question. And he himself is very colorful with his outfit here, with the green pants and the maroon shirt and his blue hair.
Yeah, and by the look on his face, you can tell he plays by his own rules.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
He'll go in there guns a-blazing and think later on.
Yeah, so I like that panel. That's my favorite.
Like the fact also that you see some banthas up top.
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
indeed.
Love me some banthas. Now I'm gonna go to this panel over here on page 138, where we see the outside of the cantina and Seabass coming through the window.
Kaboom!
Kaboom! And he's laying straight like he's planking. Like Chewie hit him so hard, it just knocked his head way back.
So you guys like the action-packed panels.
Yes.
And I like the ones that establish a character.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know.
It makes our choices seem so trite.
No.
I think for
it's
me,
just
I'm going back to when I was a kid and what panel stuck out to me.
Right. I'm just thinking it's interesting the male versus female mentality as well.
You're not wrong. It's your opinion.
Yes.
And you're entitled to it until I tell you otherwise.
And then I tell you otherwise.
Yes, you do. All right. Next, what is your favorite line of dialogue? Randy, what do you think?
My favorite dialogue is Serji-X's monologue. That on mine, it is page... I can't find it now. On mine, it's page 30 in the comic books. I don't know which page it is. It's where Han and Serji-X have an interaction for the first time.
Right at the very end.
Yeah, it's the second to last page.
Okay.
So what does he say?
The reason he says, an unfortunate title for one such delicate sensibility as I, but we have come a long way, so let us not... What's that say? Sandy? I can't... It's blurred on here.
Bandy words.
Oh, dandy words, eh?
Bandy.
But you might,
bandy about.
Yeah, you might notice accent in my voice, and the reason I'm saying that is because the writers obviously knew Sergio too, because this is what he talks like. So when I read this, I could totally hear, Sergio's dialect and his cadence and everything that go along with this. I mean, he doesn't say he's not mean like this, but I'm just saying I love the dialogue because it's Sergio. Everything about this character except for that scar is pretty much Sergio.
Wow.
That's very interesting to know.
In fact, you know what? I'll try to do this if I can ever do it. If I can think about it, I'll bring this comic and I'll try to record him reading this dialogue here.
Oh, that would be awesome.
If I can do it, no promises.
Okay. We'll just hold you to it, but no worries. Now, my favorite line of dialogue has got to go with Han Solo when he's getting into the fight. And he says, "Uh-oh, ducking time again."
Gosh.
I just cannot picture Han Solo saying that.
No.
And why would you telegraph what you're going to be doing? Not in a fight.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's funny.
So that just says it all. That's the line that when I was done with the issue, I didn't write anything down after I was reading it. So when I was done, my mind went right back to that line.
There you go.
All right.
My favorite line?
Yes.
My favorite line is one of Jackson's lines.
Okay.
And that's when he's kind of introducing who he is. And I love, the writers really had his cadence of speech down because he says, "I'm more what you call your basic lepus carnivorous, a meat-eating, rockin' riding rabbit to you, Junior." I just thought that was cute.
That is a mouthful.
It is.
Now, do you think he sounds more like Bugs Bunny?
And what's up, Doc?
You read that voice?
I don't.
Randy, what do you think Jackson sounds like?
It's a good question. Christopher Walken.
I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Wow.
But really, gotta insist that haul your wart-covered carcass back to the end of the line,
You know, I never really placed a voice with Jackson, but I think it'd be interesting if he read more like Count Dooku.
And you are skywalking through Neverland.
It's kind of like Bane in Batman.
Oh,
Always
God.
speaks in that voice. Like, I just don't see that.
No.
So just to put a whole different spin on him, so I'm going to go with Count Dooku.
Or he could always be, "Me some more liking the basic lepus carnivorous ass."
Let's go with that one.
Wow.
So whenever, in the future, when we read Jackson's dialogue, you got to read it like that.
"Me some more like your basic lepus carnivorous." That's my Watto.
You guys are crazy.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're mixing up aliens.
Yes.
Yeah, I did an old rodent here.
See?
Now he's a 1920s Watto.
I'm more what you call your basic lepus carnivorous, see?
I like that.
You got to have a cigar and a cocked hat.
Yep.
and a pocket watch.
Where's your blaster now, see?
He could be like in Roger Rabbit, the baby.
Baby Herman?
Where it looks all cute and cuddly, like Jackson, and then all of a sudden he comes out with that voice.
For crying out loud, Roger! How the hell many times do we have to do this damn scene?
Yeah, there you go.
Eh?
Disney, we are available for meetings.
Yes. All right, what is everyone's favorite sound effect? I have mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Mine is Jackson's ka-chop.
Oh, darn it. Okay, so
I'm sorry, I thought about this.
we can't repeat, so I'm going to go with the sound effect that we hear in my favorite panel.
Shaboom, shaboom, la 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 la, shaboom.
As the
shaboom.
green alien goes flying out the window, we hear shaboom!
Shaboom. La 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 la, shaboom, shaboom. Yay!
Only glass does not make the sound of shaboom.
No.
It sounds more like... Doesn't sound anything like shaboom.
No. That's awesome.
All right, Randy, what do you think?
Okay, it's not, I wouldn't say it's a favorite or anything, but it's just, I can do something with this. It's where Seabass obviously blasts Jackson. Goes, whoomp, there it is. Won't.
There you go. I see. That was nice. Page 144.
Is that more of a whoomp or a wump?
It's a whoomp. Otherwise, it takes away from my joke.
Fair enough.
Whoomp it is. Whoomp it is. All right, this one here might be a given, but favorite character. Randy?
Oh, Jaxxon's got to be Jaxxon.
Shirtless Han Solo.
All right, I'm gonna go with Pinky the Perilous over here. What's her name? Oh, Ameza. I'm gonna go with Ameza, just because.
Just because. Because I went with shirtless Han Solo.
Yeah, they're all such great characters.
I know.
You know what? Honestly, if I can't go with Jaxxon, I'm gonna go with Effie, who looks like the ideal toy from 1978. the Knight of Darkness. Did you ever have that toy line, Randy?
The Knight of Darkness. Is that the one with the magnets?
That was the one where you had 3 different characters. You had one that was obviously a Darth Vader ripoff with a round head and a silver chest. You had a C-3PO with a green alien head but a robotic body. Then you had the little R2 ripoff droid on the tractor rollers.
I kind of remember that. I just remember the black thing that you're talking about, the Darth Vader ripoff, but they were like held together with magnets, and there was like a black horse thing that you could put them on that stuck together. Maybe we're talking about 2 different. Everything was ripping off Star Wars after it came out. I think it might have been. I think I'm thinking of some sort of Micronauts.
Oh, there you go.
Well, you know what? You guys have whet my appetite to read the next issue.
All right. I'm glad we did that for you.
You did. It's more fun to talk about these comics than read them by myself. Because I don't think I ever would read these if not for this. So, yay.
All right, then. You know what? Before we go on, let's do one more category. What is the most non-Star Wars moment in this issue? Randy?
Okay, well, mine's pretty easy. Mine goes to the cutaway between Luke and Leia. And I also wanted to note about that takeaway. Is Luke flying Tantive 4 all by himself?
No, he's got R2 and 3PO in there.
Well, okay, I mean, save for the droids. I don't see anybody else getting on that thing. And as far as I recall, it takes a whole crew. It's to man a capital ship. Just it's a very geeky thing to notice, but it just.
Maybe this is like the small shuttle version.
Okay.
It's like the Phantom in Star Wars Rebels. It's like that size.
Although, to be perfectly honest, the scale of the Tantive 4 has never really been that clear. The interior scenes look like they really couldn't exist inside Tantive 4. Did you ever notice that?
Yeah, they do go on and on and on.
It's like huge and, it's just huge inside there. And then you look at the ship, it's not that big.
Yeah, we get some good reference shots in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Those hallways couldn't fit inside there.
Yeah, like Princess Leia couldn't have hid for that long in there.
Right.
So anyway, okay, so the dialogue comes, or that is not Star Wars, is Luke's thinking inside of his head. Because he seems very, he has so much self-doubt.
Right, yeah.
He's like, oh, maybe I got lucky and blew up the Death Star, but I'm still just a farm boy fresh off the back. I mean, I guess as they're telling you about Luke Skywalker, if you don't know who he is by this time. But that's just an awful lot of self-doubt. Think, oh, maybe I got lucky. It's like, come on. If I'm in the NBA Finals and I make a game-winning three-pointer, at the last second, I'm not going to say I got lucky. It's like, that's all my hard work that I put in to be able to shoot three-pointers. And of course I made that shot.
Plus, it takes away the whole point of his character in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lucky shot. He finally tapped into the Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, so that is a non-Star Wars moment. Now, for me, shirtless Han Solo. I think we've run around that one enough.
Yeah.
But I'm just gonna say that's the most non-Star Wars moment in this issue.
And what's funny is, for me, the non-Star Wars moment is Amaze's outfit.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is like, really? She looks like a saloon girl from, I don't even know what era, but a mix between the 80s, even though the 80s wasn't even around yet, and the 40s.
She looks like she could be from Blade Runner.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, she looks like one of the replicants.
Huh. But yeah, this is like not an outfit you would see in Star Wars in any way, shape, or form. So,
Okay.
So yeah.
Well, it is maybe a precursor to Leia's bikini.
I suppose, but honestly, it would be cool if she was a what's the
Twi'lek?
Yeah, Twi'lek. If she's gonna wear that kind of outfit.
Right, but those are still 6 years away.
Yeah.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. This is 77, and we don't see Twi'leks until 83.
Oh.
Good math.
I didn't realize that. To me, Twi'leks were always a part of the Star Wars universe.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't really see him until Return of the Jedi.
Huh.
Yeah, at this point, I think we have, let's see, we probably only have about 12 to 15 aliens species.
Right.
Wow.
And most of them are Rhodians.
Yeah.
The Rhodians keep popping up. All right. All right, so let's wrap things up here now on Star Wars issue number 8, 8 for Aduba. But before we wrap things up, Randy, tell us what's going on in your world.
Oh, lots of stuff. I'm working on all kinds of projects, some for trading cards and all kinds of things. I can't say a whole lot, of course, about Star Wars, but what I can tell you is that I just got some really big news. I can't tell you what it is, but I am working on another Star Wars project, which is always fun. So more on that in the future. That's all I can tell you. So,
can you give us a hint as to if it's themed around a particular upcoming movie?
I can't. It's every that's the hard thing. It's always top secret. But I can just tell. All I can tell you is that it's Star Wars.
Does it have something to do with the Ant-Man masked guy that you met?
Like I said, I can't confirm or deny it. All I can say is it has to do with Star Wars. And
okay.
And
well, if anyone wants to ask you in the future, how would they get a hold of you on social media?
You can, of course, follow me on Instagram, which is Randy Martinez 40. You can follow me on Twitter, which is Randy_Martinez. And you can go to my website, which is randymartinez.net. And then I'm easy to find on Facebook.
Yes. And you're always posting. I love your posts. You post your artwork. You are doing Periscope sometimes as well, right?
Yeah, I do Periscopes from time to time when time allows. And when, of course, again, things are so top secret, I can't really film everything that I'm drawing. But sometimes when we take walks, I'll show everybody what we're doing and walking around Hollywood Boulevard and things like that.
Nice.
Just trying to do everything I can to keep in touch with everybody, including this podcast.
Oh, great. Yeah, and then once again, like I was saying last time, I love the fact that when you're creating artwork, you're telling people what kind of
medium.
What kind of medium you're using. I think it really helps out inspiring artists.
Yeah, the feedback has been really good from it. I had no idea the type of things people would be asking, especially with art and sometimes some other things which I don't answer.
Yeah.
But I'm happy when there's hungry artists out there that just want to know more, and I'm flattered that people ask me about those things. Because art is a long journey, and you can never be a master of it. And so I certainly just see myself as a journeyman of art. So if I can help anybody of what I've learned, it's always fun to do that.
All right, good deal. And Sarah, if people want to get a hold of us,
well, they can always tweet at us at SkywalkingPod or follow us on Periscope, which is also at SkywalkingPod, and Instagram as well. All those places at SkywalkingPod. It's fun.
All right, good deal. Well, everyone, join us next time when we tackle the issue that will most likely be called Showdown on a Barren World. But like always, they may change that title.
All right.
So this is Richard.
This is Sarah.
This is Randy.
And we leave you with this. FORP.
Gronk. Begone! Defilers of the Sacred Way!
Well, there it is.
Just so much good stuff.
Ka-chop!
Shaboom.
Shaboom.
By the way, I hear birds chirping.
Birds, quiet! We're recording.
All right, who's the dead man that hit me with the salt shaker?